The Apple iPhone 13 mini has been around for a few months now, and just like its cousin, the iPhone 12 mini, it sparked a lot of interest for people who have found themselves craving a smaller, more compact iPhone experience without losing many of the main features that make an iPhone so good. People like me, and perhaps you too. But I think I have to agree with those who say that Apple might not make another device like this. But before I tell you why, let me run you through why I think Apple will be wrong to do this, even though I think they will terminate the mini line of phones. This is going to be such a downer because the iPhone mini 13 is a worthy successor to those smaller iPhones of yesteryear. My personal favorite was the iPhone 4, which was such a breakthrough device at the time with a much better camera than the 3GS before it and a classy, substantial feel and finish. And it's even better than its most recent predecessor, the iPhone 12 mini. The iPhone 13 mini, that is, not the iPhone 4. For starters, the 13 mini is powered by the newer and more powerful A15 Bionic chip as compared with the A14 in the iPhone 12 series. The camera also gets an upgrade, and no, I don't mean it's just a change in the position of the lenses in the back. The main camera uses a new sensor and also has sensor shift optical image stabilization, which should translate into even better performance, and to my eye it does. The battery capacity has been bumped up by 10%, meaning I can just get by on a day's charge if I'm not using it too much, which is actually better than I expected when I downsized from my iPhone 11 Pro Max 512GB to this 128GB iPhone 13 mini. In fact, when I pick up my 11 Pro Max now, I can't believe that I used this monster as my daily phone for 2 years. Now, I thought the display might be too small for my aging eyes to get through daily tasks and media consumption, but the display is sharp and the colors look great, so I've got no complaints about the quality of the display at all. And yes, sometimes I wish the display was bigger and maybe the mid-size standard Pro phone is where I end up one day. But for now, I love this iPhone 13 mini. It pretty much has all the features present in the iPhone 13. So, what's going on? It's a great device for people who want a smaller phone with the latest features and who can put up with the battery thing. In fact, people seem to be quite split, either loving or hating this little phone. Well, it seems like the sales numbers for the iPhone 12 mini were never great, pulling in around 6% of total iPhone sales in October, November in the year of its launch, which isn't a great slice of the pie when you compare it to other editions. For example, the second generation iPhone SE accounted for 22% of all iPhone sales in the US when it was released. This got even worse when Counterpoint Research reported similar findings earlier this year, saying that the iPhone 12 mini only represented 5% of US sales of the iPhone 12 lineup in the first half of January 2021. The iPhone 12 mini also failed to obtain a spot in the top 5 list of best-selling smartphones early in 2021 too. Is it the pricing strategy that's putting people off? While the iPhone SE is a mid-range phone that costs around $400 US, iPhone 12 mini costs $700 as it shares all the same features as the other iPhone 12 models. Now, at that time, was that just too much when people do a comparison? Maybe they just feel that they should somehow be getting literally more for their money, like physically more. Even with carrier discounts being offered this time round for the 13 mini, which weren't being offered with the 12 mini, this might still not be enough because of a few more factors. Let's dig into those now. People probably cared less about battery life in 2020-2021 because many people weren't going out much with the pandemic. If this changes, expect a shift back to phones with better battery life, even more so than we're seeing now. And this could spell the end for the Mini, even if Apple did improve battery life with the iPhone 13 mini. Here's another part of my experience that might give us a clue. I love it. I love having a smaller phone, but what I've noticed is that I use it less. Therefore, I probably consume less data and fewer apps and upsells through extra in-app purchases or subscriptions. I now consume on my larger devices and am much more mindful about it and choose that time carefully rather than doing it incidentally. I no longer snack that kind of content. And I use it less not because I don't enjoy the experience, it fits well in my hand and I like using it. The fact is, I notice it less. It's not a slab of metal in my pocket that digs into my hip when I bend over or sit down. I couldn't even tie up my shoelaces without taking the phone out of my pocket when my iPhone 11 Pro Max was my daily phone. But with the iPhone 13 mini, well, I just don't notice it, so I take it out of my pocket less. It works well with my Apple Watch, and it's funny how the original intention of that was to make you look at your phone less. Up until I got my iPhone 13 mini, that was just words, but now I find it's coming true. And the big thing is that I think Apple has noticed that owners of the iPhone mini, whether it's a 12 or a 13, they just seem to use their phones less. Maybe it's battery anxiety making them careful about their usage. I have caught myself thinking that a couple of times, like having a low range electric vehicle compared to a bigger model or petrol car with a 300-kilometer range, getting you 3 times as far as you can get on your EV battery or perhaps on your iPhone mini comparison. The small screen makes it less attractive perhaps for media consumption, gaming or productivity apps, meaning that you buy fewer apps, take out fewer subscriptions and watch and listen to less content. Part of it might also be Apple trying to manage the supply chain and diverting valuable semiconductors and other parts to devices that are going to sell better and bring in more ecosystem revenue. Why have them sitting around in iPhone mini inventory that don't sell as well? It makes perfect commercial sense. But from an elegance and convenience point of view, I'm still a big fan of the Mini. I just am. At the end of the day, it seems that the average consumer who buys high-end smartphones is not interested in smaller phones like the iPhone 12 and 13 mini. Perhaps the iPhone mini will make a comeback in the future as a new generation iPhone SE, which would make more sense. But you could expect the spec to drop a bit too. But here's a twist. As people start going about their everyday lives as we eventually exit the pandemic, one day, who knows, they may find that they don't need their screens as often as they did before. And that means battery life might not be so important either. It could go either way. Thanks for watching. You'll enjoy this video in my Apple catalog next. See you back here again soon.